Hello, and we are looking at a tricky equation called photosynthesis, but it's not as tricky as we think. We've got a few tricks up our sleeves that can help us remember this equation really easy. Now, first of all, I've identified that it's called photosynthesis, so I'll remember that it's in topic 4, bioenergetics. And in this topic, we have to learn about respiration and photosynthesis. So if we just go back and remember that general equation, we know that glucose plus oxygen equals carbon dioxide plus water, which is excellent. This way, the equation is respiration, because we remember that humans intake glucose, or any other organism, we breathe in the gas oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide as a waste product and water. However, plants also do a process called photosynthesis, which is the opposite. They take in the gas carbon dioxide through their stomata, water from the roots, and they produce glucose and oxygen. Now, we have a very good trick to remember this equation both ways, which is GoCal. G representing glucose, O representing oxygen, CO representing carbon dioxide, W representing water. And if you ever want to do a balanced equation, I have another trick. C6H12O6 represents glucose, O2 for oxygen, CO2 for carbon dioxide, H2O for water, and we need to remember the devil's number, so I always put devil horns on the G for devil GoCal, because the devil's number is 666. So if I just put a 6 in front of these three molecules, it's now balanced. So a good trick is always to remember devil GoCal. So what I would write in my equation is I would write GoCal at the top of my sheet so I remember the equation. Next, it says in this equation you'll be assessed using good English, organising information clearly, and using specialist terms. So I'd make sure I'd plan my answer. It says plants produce glucose by a process called photosynthesis. The plant uses glucose to grow. The graph shows the change in concentration of carbon dioxide. Now I know in the photosynthesis reaction, because it's the opposite of GoCal, it takes in carbon dioxide and water, and the products are glucose and oxygen. So I know the concentration is going to go down as photosynthesis occurs. In a glass house full of plants over 24 hours. Just over one day. Now looking at my graph, I can see the concentration of gas, this carbon dioxide, goes up and down, fluctuates. Now if I look at the times of day, between midnight, dawn, midday, dusk and midnight, something is happening, and it's due to the amount of light available, because between dawn and midday we have high amounts of light, but at midnight we have, and dusk we have low.
I have you for science at the end of the day.
There is low amounts of light, which means that obviously photosynthesis can't happen. It says describe. Now the command word describe means say what you can see. So what are the observations I am going to see? What data can I see in my graph? What data is observable? Describe what the plants need for photosynthesis, where these things come from, and why the concentration of carbon dioxide changes over 24 hours. To answer this question, you'll need to use and discuss the photosynthesis equation. So, with a 6-mark question at the moment, it is okay to use bullet points. I just need to make sure that the examiner can understand my good English, I've got organised content, and when I'm clearly using specialist terms. So the first thing I would do is I'd write the equation. So I would write CO2, and I'd write a balanced version if I can remember it, because obviously it shows that I've got good content knowledge. And I've done this using my revision card that we used earlier. So you can see that this way we said was respiration, but the opposite way is photosynthesis. Now it says what the equation is. I've done that, so I can tick that off. Now I'm going to say where these two reactants come from. So first of all, carbon dioxide, it comes from the air. The next reactant is water, so I say water is from the ground. Okay, now for those extra marks, it'd be good to say where it enters from. So it's in the air, but it enters via stomata. Water is from the ground, but it enters via the roots. So I've now said where they come from. I'm now going to talk about the graph. I've spoke about the equation, said where they come from, but it wants to understand why the concentration of carbon dioxide changes over 24 hours. So I'm going to say, first of all, that I've noticed there is a difference in light. So I'm going to say that there is daylight between dawn and dusk. I'm now going to talk about the actual concentration of carbon dioxide. As photosynthesis occurs, the amount of CO2 reduces in the greenhouse. And then I will talk about when the light is reduced. So when it is dark, the plants cannot photosynthesize, and they start respiring instead, so the CO2 concentration increases. And that is my answer. So you can see I've addressed all the elements of the question. I've used planning, I've used the information from my knowledge, which is on the equation, and I've used information from the graph to apply my knowledge. And you can see I've clearly used bullet points, but it's well organised, it follows the question, what they've asked me, and this is how I'd apply myself to this